Good afternoon, everybody, and well done for sticking out the graveyard shift. I'm John. I founded and directed a small not-for-profit. You can read there what our objective is. My partner enterprise that I'm representing here is a company that actually makes products that are sold into the development and aid market. So I tend to dream up and design things. They tend to be able to help me make them, which is awfully useful, especially if you want to do things at scale. So that's who I am, and that's our background. I'm a biologist by background, but I've been working as a waste management treatment specialist and building waste treatment plants for years, longer than I care to remember. What I want to do is really very quickly, and I've only got 10 minutes, is largely talk about sanitation. But before I do, I'm going to quickly pay a quick visit to a reference made this morning in your talk about rainwater. My story really with rainwater is that I was standing talking to a farmer in Uganda who said he couldn't do any more digestion because he couldn't get enough water. And that was because his wife couldn't carry it up from the bottom of the hill, which is how they got their water. I was, however, standing in the middle of a pouring rainstorm, and I looked around at every gutter in the place, and there wasn't a single gutter on the buildings that I was surrounded by. Hence the conversation about rainwater gutters. And I suddenly realized I was building a digester for this guy, which was going to hold 20 tons of liquid, and he needed a 20-ton tank to hold rainwater. So I thought, oh, got a common interest here. More recently, I've been looking at what it would take to hold enough rainwater. A community of 700 people to get from a wet season to a dry season in northern Uganda would require storage of about 1,200 tons of water. So a 30 cubic meter, 30-ton tank, which is the largest available tank in Uganda at the moment for rainwater harvesting, ain't going to touch the problem. So when I'm talking about tanks for digestion, also please think about tanks for rainwater storage, because it's common technology. My view is we're all going too slowly, and we need to rethink things, and things are not moving fast enough. I'm very quickly going to dive into some of the projects that are going on now. So we have very large programs constructing anaerobic digestion tanks using locally available materials. There are pit latrines, which are often perceived, you know, everyone talks about we've got sanitation. That means we've got a pit latrine, okay? There are programs, and WASUP's just reported on a very interesting program that they're running in several countries where they're looking to improve the infrastructure for collecting the waste from the existing pit latrines. And finally, and I have warned him, I'm going to have a quick word about some high-tech solutions and what I think they mean. And I'm going to gabble because I really want to get to your questions and not have to get you to talk too much. That is a brick digester in construction. I don't know about you, but I couldn't actually build that. That's a skilled job. There are 3,600 of these plants in Tigray, and only 43% of them are working. Ethiopia, 51% non-operational. Bangladesh, 76% defective and 21% non-operational. That is one terrible record for that technology, but it's what we're doing now as a mainstream development in sanitation. And if you a survey recently of 144 biogas plants in Uganda, 78% of them, 59%, are not working. Those that are not working are non-operational because they were constructed with soil bricks that failed quickly with time. Okay, those that were done well are working. What a surprise. So that is the result in practice of some of these headline programs that are out there, and we think we're doing okay. Pit latrines, I really want to say as little as possible about them. I just love the picture on the top right. But the communities that I'm particularly interested in, as you probably gathered earlier, is the ones on the bottom right here, which are in the urban connotations, okay? That's, you know, you can see the little shacks there. But what pit latrines are really all about is this picture. This is the standard, the left-hand picture is the standard way pit latrines are emptied today over most of the world. So building a pit latrine is fine as long as you can build another one when that one's full. In the rural areas, that's not a perfectly sensible approach. Plant a tree, cover it over, brilliant. Use the nutrients, you've recycled them, that's a great solution. But in the urban areas, you can't do that. So these souls are going in and emptying by hand most pit latrines. So there's new projects, and this is new work, to find ways of vacuum tankering and emptying pit latrines. And that's a nice-looking tanker truck in a nice-looking setting. But it's completely impractical in most urban connotations. This is a picture from the recent WASUP report. There's the new vacuum tanker. And here, from the same report, is the model for the treatment system. So we use our new vacuum tanker, and we don our people up with their hard hats and their masks, and I beg the question, do they come off 3 minutes after the camera's gone? And you suck it out, and you take it somewhere. But the take it somewhere is still to a treatment center. Now, this treatment center in one of their programs is a sludge drying bed. Ultra-modern tech, isn't it? That's raw fecal sludge in a drying bed. And that's the technology that's going on in the programs we're looking at today. And I'm not knocking them. They're doing good work, and that's better than it going into the local river. But the question I would ask, is this really as ambitious as we can get? This is a project I have a particular interest in. It's a personal experience of mine. This is an area of Dar es Salaam. And this is an area called Vingunguti. I think it's recently changed its name. It's got about 109,000 people in that little patch of land there. And if you take the minimum amount of fecal material that these people produce, excrement and urine, it's 1.5 kilograms per person per day. So that community is generating 60,000 tons at that minimum level of shit and urine. And the roads and the conurbation, as you can probably tell from the street map, is all small tracks. There's no way that vacuum tanker can get to those communities. And that community, which I've shown on this Google Maps picture, is 10 miles from the nearest out-of-town location. So how on earth do we get that 64,000 tons, first of all, into something, and it's usually these blue bins, and out of town over the 10 miles that it's going to take for that 64,000 tons? And you saw that that one community was just one of many, many more. And that's the scale of the urban sanitation problem that we're looking at. And I want you to give some thought to that. And the final one, of course, is the one we've already heard about today. I've got quite a lot of respect for these guys. I think they're taking a new approach, just like I was really enjoying the talk about the microwaves this morning. These are new ideas. But I have a big concern over container toilets in various different forms, but particularly high-tech treatment solutions, because I just consider that they're going to be a solution that's designed in the West, built in the East, and sold to the South. And to my way of thinking, that's not delivering value where it's needed, which is in the communities themselves. So my quick scoot round the world of knocking everybody else is about, basically, I do not believe that the NGOs are primarily responsible for this, that the mantra of we can only build treatment systems using the locally available materials is going to deliver sustainable solutions. Because if I asked you, with the resources that you've got, to go and build a structure to hold a ton of water, I don't think you would go and build something in bricks and mortar. Because frankly, it would leak, because you're not that good at laying bricks. But you'd probably just go down the garden centre, dig a hole, and put a pond liner in it. As be the quickest way to hold that water. But that's what we're expecting in these countries. To me, a pit latrine is not a sustainable solution. Blantyre in Malawi already has fecal contamination of groundwater. And in these urban areas, that's just the way it's going to go. So to me, we've got to get the waste out and treat it. In rural areas, it's a different story, and I wouldn't knock it. I've mentioned about the transporting waste in the urban areas, but my view is we're not looking at the transport problem. Who's come up with a new fancy truck that can do things, or a way of dewatering it so we only carry half of it as much out of town to a treatment centre? I haven't seen any programs like that. Obviously the new toilet technology, we've got to be careful we don't basically just export products that have to be imported. So that's what I don't think we should do. So what I do think we should do is be looking to find better ways to capture, store, and treat in large quantities. And I'm not talking about 1 ton, 2 tons. I'm talking about hundreds of tons. Excuse me. And I'd refer back to my comment about the rainwater. We need to be thinking in terms of tens of thousands of tons or units that can incrementally get there, because that's the scale of the problem. We, I think, seriously need to address the issue of fecal sludge management. I know that there was work going on about it, but I think it's a hidden problem that isn't particularly interesting to talk about, but it is stopping the development of solutions. And I think we need to improve the efficiency of what we're doing by looking at finding other materials that can be brought into these communities which enable them to do things better. You know, and I'm obviously in my particular context of what I'm thinking about, I'm referring to geotextiles and membranes. Because if you want to hold liquids, you do it in membranes. If we want to line a landfill in our country to stop it contaminating our groundwater, we don't line it with bricks and mortar, we line it with plastic. So why would that not be the solution there? And finally, on this list, I think we have to start talking about the problem of imports. I happen to know that Clean Team in Ghana are trying to import their toilets into Ghana, but they're facing taxes that are preventing it from being done because the taxes for importing products are so high. And I think the communities that we are in dialogue with need to address the difference between importing a raw material for solving a problem, where the value add is being developed in country, as opposed to importing a consumer product that only the rich can buy. And I think the problem of the practice as well as the policy of importation needs to be addressed. So, my new paradigm. Fundamentally, I'm here advocating and arguing for local manufacture, but not just local manufacture in the way they've always done it, but supported local manufacture to change the way things are done. Excuse me. So, essentially starting with the consumers being given something, the consumers being the community, the school, wherever the need is, being given something by something which has been fabricated or manufactured locally. But that requires them, if it's not going to be done with what's available today, to have somebody helping them to get what is needed. And that's usually an import arrangement. So you're then into having partners both inside and outside the relevant country. And that way we can access, and they can access, new raw materials, new equipment for manufacture, the training that's necessary, and of course the help with the finance. If we can start building that network up, I think it will then just spread, because you can then say, if somebody's making a living at it, then somebody else will want to make a living at it. And transportation is always so difficult, you can then effectively franchise the concept, so that you end up with a network of people who are manufacturing, supported by a body of people who are working inside and outside the given country, helping to access the best available technology in the world to solve that problem, and lift our eyes up a bit, but supported with the materials that we all trade and use internationally today. And I think that's what we need. I think the evidence is obvious as to why that would be a good plan, but fundamentally you're maximizing the value in the community where the products are being made, so that the products are being made, bought and sold and serviced by an organization that's based in the community itself. Thank you all very much.